Worship is adoration or reverence for someone or something. And God is definitely someone I revere and adore. And so coming together in this auditorium, this beautiful sanctuary, to worship and adore Him on Sunday mornings is something that is really, really important to me. I had the blessing of being raised coming to worship every Sunday morning. I went with my parents in our big, beautiful Presbyterian church. I went with one set of grandparents in their big, beautiful Presbyterian church and sat beside my beautiful grandmother with her hat and her white gloves and listened to her sing. And then I was in another church with my other grandparents who went to a very small, simple Church of Christ. And they sang a cappella with no musical accompaniment, and I loved hearing the harmonies of the people. But all of that is to say that I had the blessing of worshiping on Sunday mornings all my life, and it's something that is still extremely important to me. Can you worship anywhere, anytime? Absolutely, and I do. And I encourage us all to, but I believe that it's very important to God that we come together as a community of believers and worship Him together. He greatly values worship. In the book of Isaiah, we learn that the seraphim are constantly surrounding Him and singing, "Holy, holy, holy," back and forth to each other, around and around Him. And I can certainly do that on a Sunday morning and worship Him and sing in that way. I love to study the Old Testament. And in the Old Testament, we learn about God's chosen people, the Israelites, that He called first with Abraham. And as they're moving towards the Promised Land and have a little misstep, they're called to wander for 40 years. But in that time, it was still important to God that they have a place to worship. He gave them specific instructions to build a beautiful tabernacle that was up whenever they were sitting still. And when they got ready to move, they took it down, carefully carried it, and set it back up the next time. They always had a place to worship. Once the Israelites were established in the Promised Land, King David's son Solomon was given specific instructions to build a beautiful temple that came to be a place where the Israelites came together to worship God. And then as the time went on and there were many, many kings in the nation of Israel, some were really bad and some were really good, but they were always defined by who they worshiped. They worshiped Jehovah God, or they worshiped Baal, Asherah poles, and everything else we don't want to think about. But it was always defined by who they worshiped. Ultimately, Israel is destroyed, and ultimately, as we celebrate on Easter, Jesus came and once and for all paid that sacrifice for us so that we can worship Him without the need for sacrifice. But we are called to worship forever after. In the book of Hebrews, it tells us to not neglect worshiping together, meeting together. And in the book of Timothy, he reminds us to listen to the word corporately being said out loud. And so it's very, very important that we continue to do that. And I love to come and worship in this beautiful sanctuary on Sunday mornings. It's beautiful. I love to be among the people and see other believers that are on this journey with me in this world as Christianity becomes a smaller and smaller group of people in the world that we live in, but I can sit down and be amongst a whole group of them. I love the music. I love just the drama and the loudness of it as it just washes over me, and the words. And sometimes I just close my eyes and just let those words soak into me. I love the prayer time when I can pray for myself or I can pray for others. I love the sermon when it either teaches me, convicts me, blesses me. In some way, it's going to impact me that I can go out and have something different. When First Baptist started, the hangar, it literally met in the basement under the dining hall, and it was for the youth, and it was called the hangar because it was for people, the youth, to come in and refuel, and go back out for the week as soldiers for Christ. And that's what we're to do, and that's what I do when I come here on Sunday morning. beaten or maybe just had the best week of my life, I come in and I can either praise God or cry out to Him. But whatever, I'm going to be refueled and ready to go back out. When Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment? He said, the greatest commandments are love God and love others. That put them all together. So when I come here, I can love God and be equipped so I can go out and love others. Maybe you haven't come in a while. Maybe it's been hard to come back from COVID, or maybe you've never come, but that's okay. God is never the author of shame. He just wants you to come. He just wants you to come and be blessed and maybe even be saved.